Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Yeah. Find your path with the knowledge of others and become an illuminator for those who struggle. Guide their way just by being true and being in alignment because it comes naturally to you. On self-discovery wisdom, we share to find inspiration with lessons for millions. We hope you listen.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Sarah's View of Life right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy. Well, the show I'm going to be talking about today is the power complex. Tyrants, dictators, oligarchs, and authoritarians, past and present. And I've wanted to do this one for a while and kind of was trying to put it off. But I really do feel that I need to address it. So here we go. Tyrants are often, mostly men, who seek an external power to compensate for the inner inadequacy, insecurity, and unresolved emotional wounds. The hunger for control grows from a deep sense of smallness within, where dominance becomes a substitute for self-worth and fear replaces self-awareness. Often behind this hardened exterior of tyrants and authoritarian figures lies an unhealed inner child, one who has never been taught empathy, compassion, or emotional safety, or who will never have experienced consistent, unconditional love. Without love molded, they learn control instead of connection, dominance instead of belonging. The unmet need doesn't disappear. It turns into a hunger for attention, admiration, and obedience. Power becomes the substitute for love. Fear becomes the false sense of safety. This is not strength, but emotional immaturity, armored in authority. When unhealed wounds gain power, entire populations pay the price. Understanding the origin is not the excuse, but true leadership's inner healing, empathy, and accountability. When true leadership rises from inner strength, humility, compassion, emotion, maturity, not domination. So who are these tyrants through the history? Who are the oligarchs, the power system past and present? These are some dead and alive. Everybody knows Adolf Hitler, Nazi Germany, 6 million Jews murdered, plus millions of others, sparked World War II, 70 plus million deaths globally, destroyed European social fabric, trauma, displacement, genocide, generational grief. Joseph Stalin from the Soviet Union, purges forced labor camps, engineered families, 20 to 30 million deaths, culture of fear, silence, surveillance, deep generational trauma. Mao Zedong, China, great leap forward in cultural revolution, 45 million deaths, destruction of tradition, family, and culture. Pol Pot, Cambodia, the Khmer Rouge genocide, 2 million killed, targeted intellectuals, artists, doctors, cultural annihilation. Why is that, do you think? Because they do not want intelligence challenged. They want to feel they are it all. Idi Amin, Uganda, ethnic cleansing, mass killings, 300 to 500,000 deaths, economic collapse, and terrorized population. Benito Mussolini, Italy, fascist dictatorship, political repression, war, devastation, loss of democratic freedoms, and aligned with Hitler. Saddam Hussein, Iraq, chemical warfare on civilians, torture, executions, wars devastating millions, mass displacement and instability. Modern day dictators and authoritarian rulers living. Vladimir Putin, impact, war in Ukraine, countless deaths, suppression of opposition, political assassins, mostly by poisoning, media censorship and propaganda, economic hardship for civilians. Xi Jinping, China, surveillance states, Uyghur Muslim repression, social credit system control, elimination of dissent, tight censorship. Kim Jong-un, South Korea, prison camps, labor camps, starvation, no free speech, total population control. Bashar al-Assad, I'm pronouncing that wrong, Syria, civil war, chemical attacks, 500,000 plus deaths, 13 million displaced, infrastructure devastation. Alexander Lukashenko, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, Belarus, political imprisonment, brutal protest crackdowns, rigged elections, total censorship. Ibrahim Raisi, Iran, violent repression on protests, mass executions, severe human rights abuse, religious authoritarianism. Nicolas Maduro, Venezuela, economic collapse, hyperinflation, severe food shortages, 7+ million refugees. Isaias Afwerki, sorry, cannot pronounce that, Eritrea, forced military conscription, labor camps, no free press, mass immigration. Donald Trump, United States, death and dismantling of America, deep political polarization, undermining democratic institutions, ignoring the Constitution and human rights, Ferguson, which is blending tyranny, control, extremism, corruption, dominance into one resonant word. January 6, Capitol insurrection, erosion of trust in truth, law, and governance, greed, power at all costs. His rhetoric and actions have repeatedly dehumanized opponents, normalized aggression, and embodied violent actors. He excuses or minimizes brutality, undermining the rule of law. He has contributed to an environment where families, communities, democratic norms are put at risk. When leaders legitimize harm or strip others of their dignity, no one is truly safe, because the erosion of empathy and accountability spreads beyond any single group. The US remains a democracy, but institutions are significantly strained. I do hope they rise up soon. Benjamin Netanyahu, sorry for pronunciation, Israel, prolonged conflict escalation. The Gaza humanitarian catastrophe, massive civil casualties, severe global diplomatic fallout, deep trauma on both sides of Israel and Palestinian populations. The oligarch power systems, the Russian oligarchy, extreme wealth concentration, corruption, political manipulation, massive inequity, public poverty, despite national wealth. Poverty, sorry. Post-Soviet oligarch systems, polarized corruptions, collapse of the middle class, wealth funneled upward, systemic poverty. Global corporate power structures, political lobbying dominance, regulated capture, media manipulation, wealth extraction, worker exploitation. So the neo and Nazi extreme movements from 1933 to 1945 industrialized genocide, World War, and the birth of the modern Human Rights Act. The white supremacist group, The neo-Nazi white supremacist group have raised their head again. Little boys trying to be more than what they are. Radicalized terror attacks, racial hatred, social destabilization, psychological violence. I'm adding to the list Elon Musk. Through immense platform control and wealth-driven influence, Musk has reshaped public discourse in a way that amplify polarization, misinformation, and harassment. While guardrails are weakened and attention is rewarded over responsibility, the result is a social environment where harmful narratives spread faster than truth, and vulnerable communities bear the cost. Power without ethical restraint destabilizes trust and social cohesion, and he has openly admitted to manipulating Trump into power. Stephen Miller. As a principal architect of the hardline immigration policies and rhetoric, Miller has promoted frameworks that dehumanize migrants, normalize cruelty as a governance. Policies rooted in exclusion and fear have separated families, traumatized children, eroded moral and legal norms, leaving a long-lasting damage to communities and democratic values. The common thread: when influence figures strips others of dignity, normalizes harm, or weaken accountability, the damage radiates outward, fracturing families, communities, and the social fabric. It isn't about ideology. It's about the consequence of power exercised without empathy, responsibility, or restraint. There's a core pattern across these tenures. Every authoritarian system follows the same progression. Fear replaces trust. Control replaces freedom. Propaganda replaces truth. Militarization replaces diplomacy. Obedience replaces dignity. Wealth concentrates, poverty expands. Again, thugism, terrorism, dominance, oppression, controlism, fearism, powerism, ruleism, altruism. It's all there. No, this is not all of them. It's a representative global overview of the most influential, destructive, and wildly dominant figures and systems. There have been hundreds of tyrants and dictators and warlords and authoritarian rulers throughout history, and dozens are active today across every region of the world. What you impactful and currently consequential leaders and systems, the ones whose decisions reshape nations, regions, and global stability. There is no single list. Power consistently shifts. Regimes rise and fall. New authoritarian systems arrive. And some leaders rule in partial shadows. Some operate through proxy systems rather than direct dictation. History is fluid, not static. There are categories that still contain more names. The entire groups where dozens more exist. Military juntas and coup leaders in parts of Africa, South Asia, Central Asia, and Latin America. Theocratic authoritarian states, religious rule, suppression, civil rights. One-party communist regimes, several countries. Dynastic dictatorships, family rule passed down generation. Warlord-controlled regions, especially conflict zones. Corporate oligarch systems, not individuals, but the economic power shaping governments. Additionally, notably, current authoritarian leaders, not yet listed, without turning this into a massive encyclopedia, there are some more major ones. Miguel Diaz-Canel, Cuba. Min Aung Hlaing, I can't pronounce half these names, but this will be here on my show form. The deeper truth, the names changes, but the pattern doesn't. Every authoritarian system, ancient or modern, runs on the same structure. Civilized power, fear, or centralized power: fear, control, silence, obedience, exploitation. What matters more than the names, not who they are, but what allows them to exist. This is where the real change happens. When people are informed, media is free, education is protected, institutions are accountable, citizens stay engaged, tyranny cannot easily take root. The human cost: generational trauma, generational fear, loss of safety, loss of voice, psychological exhaustion, cultural fracture, poverty, sickness, and a mistrust that lasts for generations. The deeper reflection: tyranny does not begin with monsters. It begins with people who slowly surrender their voice, responsibility, and connection. Our work here at Self-Discovery Wisdom, what we naturally do, is through conversation and awareness, storytelling and wisdom sharing, we keep consciousness awake. The awake societies are so much harder to dominate. So the path forward, it's not with rage, not hatred, not retaliation, but engaged citizenship with awareness and demand accountability, led with compassion, discernment, and demand ethical leadership. Do not give in, do not look away, do not surrender, and do not bow down. They feed on fear and silence, so we deny them both. Together, legally and with compassion, we stand as one. History shows that when we unite, the giants fall. We are many. We are strong. We are awake. We are not putting up with this anymore. We are done accepting fear as a leadership, cruelty as a policy, and domination as a strength. If we don't stand together, legally, consciously, and with compassion, history proves that truth, when we unite to face the giants, they fall. We are many. We are strong. We are awake. We are not putting up with this anymore. I don't like to get political, but for me, it's not about the politics. It's about the humanity. It's about the horrors that little people, and they are, I don't care how rich they are, how powerful they think they are small inside. Whatever trauma has happened to them being raised, whatever has happened to them that has made them feel insecure or unloved is horrible, because every child deserves to be loved. Every family deserves to be strong. Every community deserves to be at its best. This is what makes a good society. When we see cruelty to our children, cruelty to a spouse, cruelty even to ourselves, we are heading down that road of self-destruction, because we give in to the anger, we give in to the hate, we give in to the fear, we give in to the it's them, not us. Narcissism is on a rise. We have never seen so much narcissism outwardly out there. Trump is a megalomaniac, narcissist, sociopath. I've said it. I live in Canada, not going to America. His father and his grandfather were not of great quality. They gave him money, but did they give him love? Because this is a man who so desperately needs to be adored. He needs to be revered and worshipped, because he hasn't felt it. He's bought people, he's been bought by people, and he doesn't really know what the true e-commerce of love really is. Kindness, consideration, compassion, giving, sharing, not as his vocabulary. You look at all the tyrants that have been and that are there right now, and you know that there's a psychological disconnect within them. I feel sorry for them, but I cannot forgive their actions. We have all had things happen to us. We've all had things that are being dumped on us. We've all had to face things in our lives that have become our challenge to find our courage, to find our strength, to find our abilities, to find our calling, to find our self-love. And when we do, we truly then understand what life is about. There is so much beauty in this world. There is so much to love. The biggest horror in this world are humans. But when humans decide to be kind, caring, and loving, they are the brightest light. But it is always down to choice. You've heard me say this over and over again. It's always down to choice. So when we choose not to join the rage, not to join the fear, not to join the hate, but instead to seek the love, to seek the kindness, the compassion. And sometimes we may have to give it in order to receive it. Sometimes there's taking an act of compassion, of love, of kindness and consideration. Now I can hear someone listening to this and say, yeah, what about the guy that got shot for defending that woman? He didn't do anything wrong. But the people that ganged up on him are the thuggers that I talk about. They have been given a license to kill and being told they can do it over and over again without any consequence. That's not leadership. That thuggism is brutality. It's warfare. And you have a war on in America right now. You have a war of consciousness. And I am delighted to see states and senators and mayors and governors stepping up and saying no to ICE, no to Trump, no to everything that's been thrown at them. And it's going to take all of them in chorus consistently to change it. Because when finally those Republicans that have been kissing butt for so long see that they have no future if they carry on with him, and that what is happening is a reflection of them, then maybe their conscience will step in. But if it hasn't stepped in by now, what does that say about them? Anybody who condones this, anybody who condones ICE, the separating of families, the destroying of society. My own niece has lost her business because of the tariffs. Here in Canada, our Prime Minister has gone totally different route. He's aligned with other countries because he knows we cannot rely on America anymore. A relationship that we had, that was a good one, totally destroyed by somebody who enough is never enough. You could give them the universe. It will still not be enough. Because what they seek is on the inside. It's never on the outside. And that inside is work. It's a dismantling of all the pain inside. It's a dismantling of all the fear and the hate. It's coming to terms with who you are as a human being, what you really stand for, what you're really here for, how to step into love and love of others. It's take courage, take strength. But for some people, hating, hurting, and being cruel to others, as most bullies are, they think is feeding them. But all it's doing is emptying them out. every action, every transaction. I pray that America finds the courage to stand up, to put a stop to this. If everybody in America saw civil war, do you want to go there? That movie was quite horrific. It stayed with me. What human beings, what neighbors, what friends, what family can do to each other astounds me. Astounds me. When are we going to grow up? When are we as a human base going to lighten up? When are we going to stop being so self-absorbed and understand shoot happens? What are we going to do about it? How are we going to heal? How are we going to take onus over our own life, our own choices, our own direction, our own free will, and stop imposing our pain on others? These are just some of the tyrants, some of the oligarchs. There are many more. There are many more behind him. But we can't turn a blind eye. We can't go, la, 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 I can't hear it. I know it's a lot to take. I know it's hard to take. I have put this show off, I don't know how many times until I just had to address it. It is about waking up, stepping up, changing it up, and growing up to a higher consciousness and changing the energy of America to better vibrations. Don't forget, every one of these tyrants fell. You've got some that are existing right now, but they'll fall, and they'll fall hard. And all the people that supported them will fall with them. All I'm asking in America, that you make him fall faster. If you've listened to this show and you disagree with me, that's perfectly okay. You're entitled to your opinion. If you feel he's the bee's knees, then you wouldn't have listened to the show to the end anyway. This isn't a hate rhetoric. This is an observation. And this is an empathy calling. I am feeling for America. I am feeling for Ukraine. I am feeling for Sudan. I am feeling for all the people, all living creatures that are going through such tyranny, such pain, such suffering at the hands of a few insecure little boys. It's time to grow up. So until next time, folks, let's give peace and love a chance. For we are the peace. We are the love. Now let's get out and share it. Bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you to listen to right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Come and hear the illumination that's going to shed light on your path.
Find your path with the knowledge of others.